Hey Lorain County Wrestling fans, welcome back to another episode of the Matt Report brought to you by our friends at Cobos Insurance Center. Before we get started, we have to remind you that Cobos Insurance Center is locally owned and they are very proud supporters of the local high school wrestling scene here in Lorain County, so please consider Cobos for all your insurance needs. I am your host, Rocco Nushi, Kristen Bauer behind the camera, and to my right, outclassing me once again, the very sharply dressed one and only, and color coordinated, I should add as well. It's Tom Evans. Tom, it's towards the tail end of the season, we're getting into sectionals now, which I know is the bulk of this show, and just an awesome time for our individual wrestlers to really prove themselves now at the highest level.
Absolutely. My outfits take your animals to a whole new level. I can match, drafts and drafts. Sectionals. We just got done with the sectional weekend. The big boys Division I sectional. Six of the big schools in the county over at Midview on Saturday, and Avon Lake comes away the winners, their first sectional championship with 204 points. Midview was our next best team at fifth. Fremont Ross, Toledo St. John's, and Ashland brought some pretty good teams in and kind of
as they do
bump some of the local competition down. I know that Sean Bennett did right that our number of district qualifiers is down this year. I think that's a big part of it. They sent some really quality teams over to Midview, but great job by the Avon Lake Shoremen, qualifying 9 for the district. Midview qualifies 6, Avon 8, Elyria 4. Amherst Steel 4, North Ridgeville 1, and Lorain 1. And I'll be out at Perrysburg, loaded district. Perrysburg, I just read an article about them on how they think they're going to make a run at St. Ed's for the state title this year. So that's going to be a brawl over there. Wrestling starts at 4 o'clock on Friday.
Awesome. And so what are maybe some of the more important matchups to look forward to? Who do we expect to kind of perform well here in the district round?
Well, Cam McKinney. We've been talking about Cam all year from Elyria. He penned his way through the sectionals. So, he knows the task at hand. He was on the podium in Columbus last year at 113 pounds. So, Cam, I think, is really focused. He knows that he needs 4 wins to get back down to Columbus, and I think his goal is staying on top of that. Nate Perry, another returning state qualifier, did a nice job of winning his sectional. Kind of fun. Tyler and Austin Dye both come away with sectional championships. The brothers come with one. Certainly, Austin's been there all year, the heavyweight, but his brother comes through, beat some guys that beat him the week before at the Southwest Conference tournament to get there. And Jack Marconi, the usual suspects over at Avon Lake, getting down as well. So they're solid. When you're number 1 in the sectional, you're going to get a number 4 from another sectional. So you got 1s are wrestled 4s, 2s, and 3s. So in every half bracket, there's 2 1s and 2 2s and 2 3s and 2 4s. So really, there's no ducking it. There's no easy way through it. At some point in time, you're going to run into another sectional champ possibly. Oh, yeah. So you better be ready. At
this point in the season, you kind of mentioned it there with guys seeing each other for the second or maybe third time now this season. In a conference like the SWC, how much more difficult does that make up for both guys, regardless of who might have won the first or second time around? How much more difficult does that make a third matchup when they meet up in the postseason?
Oh, that's tough because you really know each other pretty well. And Dye and Eddie Powers at heavyweight, that's a great example that, Eddie's come up on the short end every time there. But, those are always 1 or 2 point matches, and Austin's gotten the better of them every time. But, there's no room for error then. When you see somebody that many times and you're starting to pick up on maybe what some of their best moves are. So that's tough when you get to the third and fourth time when you see a guy.
So again, with districts coming up, we get closer and closer to that state tournament. The girls, of course, will be a part of that this year. What kind of dynamic, and I'm sure we'll talk more about this in the next episode too, but how much of a dynamic does that kind of throw into it?
Well, it has another championship match on the floor. So the girls will be side by side with the boys. I've seen the rotation, what they're going to do with the mats. So they'll be, instead of 3 championship bouts, there'll be 4 with the addition of the girls. They can't use the elevated platform this year because they don't have one big enough for 4 mats to be able to fit everybody on, but they'll have 4 on the floor. So they've adjusted some of the times. The girls' district is this Sunday at Menor for Northeast Ohio. So the girls' numbers have exploded. I was trying to look today to see how many entries there are in that district tournament. I helped out last year over at Lutheran West, and they had good numbers, but I think it's at least quadrupled this year. So it'll be interesting to see how many girls are at that Menor district.
Now, Tom, I know it's no secret. We also do a radio version of this show basically over on WEOL, and we'll be catching up with Scott Sedlick from Avon Lake for good reason. But I know you wanted to talk to Brandon Gilbert as well from Vermillion. Why so?
Well, because they did an outstanding job. Sometimes where we forget about Vermillion over there on the west end and of course they're part of the SBC, that Sandusky Bay Conference, which is always tough. Well, they went to Sandusky for their sectional tournament. Came away with 7 qualifiers, finished third in a really, really tough sectional over there. Did a really, really nice job. Had 4 second-place finishes, a couple thirds and a fourth. Nice job by Coach Gilbert over there, having those guys ready. They've got a shot. Again, it's a new week. They'll be at Norwalk because they go to Northwest Region at 4 o'clock on Friday. Firelands and Brookside, the other 2 Division II schools, they'll be at Garfield Heights on Friday at 5 o'clock.
We certainly spread them around, don't
they did move them around.
So, Tom, before we go, anything else from sectionals that's noteworthy to you? And do you have like a dark horse maybe heading into this district round that could maybe surprise us out of Lorain County?
Well, we haven't talked about my school, my favorite school yet. One of my favorites, Columbia. Columbia comes away as sectional champs. They won their first conference title in a long time. Their first sectional title since 1998. Wow. 8 district qualifiers. Again, Cole Schulke and Hayden Garrow come away with championships there. Again, Cameron Carreras from Chippewa, from Clearview, staying hot. Had a couple good matches. This is going to be fun to watch him this week out at Perry. Here's a little note for you. If you're a Division III parent, wrestling starts at 1 o'clock at Perry on Friday, all the way out there in Lake County. So 1 o'clock, they anticipate being done by about 5:30. So not very parent-friendly with the first round, the first couple rounds of the districts. But so you want to get out there early. But certainly at Columbia goes out of the strong. Every school from Lorain County, from the Division III sectionals, qualified at least 1 wrestler. Oberlin got 1 out. Larry Cathlin got 1 out. Black River with 4. Clearview with 3. Keystone with 4. Of course, Tristan Green stays on a roll. Wellington with 2.
Wow, that's fantastic there. So, of course, all Lorain County wrestlers staying. Does that make it tough wrestling at 1 in the afternoon compared to 6, 7 o'clock?
Just a little different. A little different setup for you. So you got to get it, and that's a hike. From here over to Lake County, that's a good hour 15. Hour 20. So and you're going into the middle of the snow belt. I think they're calling for some precipitation on Friday.
So
there's a lot of things that factor in. The last thing you want your wrestlers doing is sitting in a van for 2.5 hours on their way to a tournament when they have to wrestle with a chance to get to the state meet. So that wears on them a little bit.
Those meatheads will find a way to entertain themselves.
They usually do. Yes.
Good deal. So sectionals in the books, district right around the corner. Of course, that state tournament down in Columbus right after that. So that'll put it all on this week. For Kristen Bauer behind the camera, for my co-host Tom Evans, I am Rocco Nucci saying thank you for watching another episode of the Matt Report, brought to you by our friends at Cobos Insurance Center. We'll see you guys next week.